On behalf of the Board of Directors, you are hereby inducted into the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Mac.
Thank you very much, Michael. Jim and Michael collaborated on that, and I certainly do appreciate it. I try not to be too emotional, but I kind of get that way. You can ask some of my students, particularly at graduation at Chautauqua. You can ask my former players. I kind of get that way when you're ready to win the ball game, as I always said. Before I start a small speech, I have to thank one of the greatest swim coaches in the state of New York. That's Bill Rollinger. Bill sponsored me to get into the Chautauqua County Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you, Bill. It's so nice to see so many people that I know and that I know by name, class, or whatever. If I have had any success in my career, both as a basketball coach and a high school principal, I owe it to certain people, places, and games. First and foremost, my wife of 52 years, Mary Ann. I think her love, her loyalty, faith, and just her wonderful feeling toward me through all of our years of marriage probably amount to how good I am today. Secondly, my children and grandchildren, they rewarded me with their spirit, their gamesmanship, and their will to win. My daughters, who I think would have been good basketball players, however, they never just wanted to play basketball, have always been there for me with their love and in passion and kindness. Amy, my one daughter, is here this evening. My other daughter, Karen, lives in Ireland with her daughter, and they obviously couldn't be here tonight. My two sons, Jim and Michael, they're both excellent basketball players in their own right, playing for Jamestown High School. Jim graduating in 1976, Michael graduating in 1980, and it was through determination on their part that they did so well at the game. Thirdly, is Jamestown High School. For 18 years of my life, I loved spending time in that wonderful environment. I have so many, many friends through the students that I met and came in contact with at that wonderful school. I can't say enough about their athletic program. I think it's way above everybody else's. It's wonderful, and as Michael mentioned, Wally Hucknall took us to, and Joe DeMeo, who is here this evening, took us to, heights that people probably wouldn't have thought we would have been. Sam Restivo, who is also here tonight, one of the greatest football players that I ever saw at JHS. Fourthly, I'd have to say basketball is the game that probably has helped make me what I am. It's a passion of mine, and I always have felt, no matter what sport, or no matter what you do, you have to have that passion to be the best. And if you don't have that passion, you're not going to succeed. I've been associated with the game of basketball since I was 8 years old. I played it, I coached it, I taught it, and I loved it. Finally, this evening, I can't let the opportunity go by without taking us back to the glory days of Panama basketball. Thanks for the memories. The people at the table over there are former players, students of mine at Panama Central School, athletes at Panama Central School. Back to the times when if you didn't arrive at the gymnasium by halftime of the junior varsity game, you didn't get in. Everybody was there. You see, when I first came to Panama from Western PA, and really, I didn't know where Panama was. It was a job, but I was hired, and at semesters, I took over as the head basketball coach. Now, this was my forte. I loved basketball, played it in high school, played it in college. Panama Central had never won a championship. Never. It the movie Hoosiers kind of reminds me of Panama Central School in those days. The same rabid fans, same fiery coach, and one stoplight in the town. You have to realize that in a rural community, and there are a lot of us who might have grown up in a rural community, sports are big time. And in Panama, basketball was big time, especially winning basketball. I think the game helped to the community to get more pride and more cohesiveness as a town. Most of us in this room, and me included, of course, have dreams. Dreams of becoming a champion. I don't care if it's football, baseball, basketball, Monopoly, whatever. We have dreams. And I had the dreams, somehow, some way, maybe we could get just one championship team at Panama. Well, the first full year of coaching, we had two great players, Tom Rowe and Charles Manwaring. They led us to our first championship at that tiny school. Now, in those days, there were three classifications in New York State. A, which would have been naturally Jamestown, Southwestern. Faulkner was A. B schools would have been Bemis Point, Maple Grove, Westfield, Silver Creek, and C schools, Panama, Clymer, Sherman, etc. It's all based on the number of boys. Notice I said boys. They didn't have girls basketball then. What a shame. But based on the number of boys you had enrolled would put you in a classification. In Panama, when I was there, we usually had about 70 boys in grades 9 through 12. And you build a ball club from that. So after the first year, and I can remember going to Buffalo Memorial Auditorium, and taking a look around, and I took one of my players aside and I said, take a look around you right now, because this is what it's all about. Buffalo Memorial Auditorium. That was our state championship. They did not have state championships in those days. You went as far as you could go if you won a sectional title. And, like today, 6 sections in the state of New York. So I said to this young man on the basketball team, look around. We may never get here again. This is a first for the village of Panama. 2 years later, led by a 6'8" young man who I came in contact with as a freshman, when he was a freshman, named Randy Otander. Randy Otander is in attendance tonight. Randy Otander could do just about everything he wanted to with a basketball. Marvelous basketball player. And led by Randy Otander, we once again won a sectional championship. And once again, you think, Panama Central, maybe you're doing something right. 2 sectional titles. Maybe that's all you're going to get. Think how many of these small schools never get there. And I used to tell my players that, you're lucky, you're there. Think how many want to be there. But 2 years later, in 1963, led by John Rowe, who's in attendance tonight, Ron Morris, they won another sectional championship at Buffalo Memorial Auditorium. They defeated Chautauqua by probably 15 points. And once again, you say, that's a lot. 3 championships at this little tiny school. But we weren't done. 2 years later, team led by Randy's brother, who wasn't going to be outdone by Randy, Morris Otander, and Eddie Triscutt, they carried us to another championship at Memorial Auditorium, defeating Sherman by 17 points. And that was my last year of coaching. Coaching 7 full years, 7.5 years. If I taught them anything, I hope that I taught them a passion, not only for basketball, but a passion for life. And secondly, I hope I taught them the desire to excel in whatever you do. I liken a lot of that basketball days to the movie Hoosiers. When the coach Norman Dale was letting his team go on the floor to play the state championship in Indiana, he said, "I love you guys. Thank you."
Nice job, Mac.